and welcome to Shine with Marielena Cortez and Mark Sedgwick. It's a beautiful day. The sun is back, so we need to get out there and enjoy the sunshine as much as we can. I hope you're having a great day. Today we have a super special guest and friend of mine who is a writer and activist and a creative mind, Mr. Robert Renteria. Welcome, Robert.
Hi, how are you?
Fabulous. He's joining us from Chicago. Muchas gracias, Robert.
Bien, gracias.
Well, and Mark, welcome as well. It's always a delight to have your insight and your comments on the Sean podcast. Let's welcome Mark Sedgwick and the quote of the day.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the show once again. Glad to be joined by a man that I've heard many stories about over the years of growing up with an author mom, I guess. Today we're going to be sharing a quote that I found on his website, and it goes like this: "Don't let where you came from dictate who you are, but let it be a part of who you become." So, Robert, we want to ask you as our first Shine podcast question of the day, what does that quote mean to you?
Well, for me, don't let where you came from dictate who you are, but let it be part of who you become is looking back when I became an executive in corporate America. I was the only Latino in executive management, and they told me that I would never get there because I was Latino and I didn't have a formal education. But after getting there and going on to start my own business, I made sure that I looked back and took others with me, so to give them the opportunities. So I didn't allow my success in corporate America or in business alter who I am. So I made sure that I kept close to my culture and close to my people, and that I made sure that they understood that if the dream is big enough, the odds don't matter.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, Robert, you and I at the Latino Books and Family Festival years ago, you were getting an award. I was nominated, and it was just such a pleasure to meet you and get to know you. A lot of people don't understand how hard it is to get to just sometimes break through the writers and the authors and get to a different level. And you work so hard, and I admire your tenacity and your dedication over all these years that I've known you. I don't remember the year. Do you remember the year?
2011, I believe it was.
2011. So that's 10 years ago. Wow. How cool is that? And I remember I listened to your story, and I was in tears the first time that I got to see you speak at a school setting. And I also got to listen to you at a conference a few years later. But you always put tears in my eyes, and I get choked up because you came from very humble beginnings, and you didn't allow that to dictate who you were going to become. You had a goal, you had certain things set up, and you. So tell us a little bit about your story as a child, and then what were some of those confrontations? How did you get over all of that? And when was the day and the moment that you broke through all these chains?
Well, like a lot of us, we come from poverty and violence. I grew up in the barrio of East Los Angeles, and my mother was a factory laborer, so was my father, making $1.20 an hour. My father was a heroin addict and alcoholic, and he was in and out of jail. And when he wasn't in jail, he was putting the needles in his arm because he liked the drugs more than he liked his family. He abandoned our family when we were 3, and the only legacy he left us was a pile of bills and a bunch of empty bottles of booze in the trash can. My mother working 2 and 3 jobs to make sure that her little boy and her little girl did not become part of a system. When I was 6, I was in a terrible accident. I had to go to school for the physically disabled and mentally challenged because I couldn't walk, talk, or read or write. But after 3 years of rehabilitation, I walked out of the school tall and strong and on my own, which proved a point is, quitting is not an option, right? Quitting is not an option. So now at 9, my mother remarries, and the nightmare starts all over again. She marries an abusive drunk, and he's beating up on me, beating up on my mother. And then I get old enough, I run away, and I find another dysfunctional family called gangs. I started running and gunning, stealing and dealing, and then my father dies. My real father dies in a halfway house on Skid Row in Los Angeles, where the hobos live. My father died a bum. So I was involved with some pretty bad guys, and I made a drug deal that went bad. And it was at that point I decided to join the military. And the military changed my life. It saved my life. And not only made me a man, but it made me a better man. And it was there I learned about a word called character. Character is not just doing what's right when somebody's watching you, but doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And I learned about teamwork, duty, honor, country, camaraderie. I jumped out of helicopters and airplanes. I served in psychological operations, the 3rd Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg, and I was an elite soldier. So it made me realize that I could be anybody I want to be. So after 7 years of serving our country honorably as a non-commissioned officer, I came to Chicago with $200 in a duffel bag, and I slept on a friend's floor in a 1-bedroom apartment until I got a job. And all I could afford to eat back then was Arby's sandwiches, 5 for $5. And so I drank a lot of water, lost a lot of weight, but I got that job. And after 5 years, I got recruited, and I became vice president of a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. I climbed the ladder of corporate America for almost 6 years, and I started my own business. And within 3 years, we were the #1 distribution company in the United States. I was selling equipment and building laundromats. And I thought I had everything I ever wanted, right? I had sleeping on the floor as a child in a smelly basement, infested with mice, rats, and roaches, to having a house on a pond. As a kid, I had to walk or ride a bike or take a bus or hitchhike. I was driving a Mercedes Benz and, flying first class, a few bucks in the bank. And I share that with you not to impress you, but to empower you, because I learned that the 2 greatest days in your life are the day you're born and the day you realize why you're born. And that's when I became an author.
Yes. Right. What an amazing story, right, Mark? What an inspiration. Just listening to that little short clip is like, wow. A lot of kids out there complain, oh, I'm born at the wrong house. You're lucky you have great parents. Oh, you're born into a family of fame and fortune. I really don't think none of that matters, because there's kids who are born in fame and fortune, but they're not smart enough to do the right things or to use the money wisely, right? So at the end of the day, I think it really is what's the most important moment of your life, like you said, is when you really realize, why am I here? What is my purpose? And what am I doing? So Mark, I want to hear from you, because we always talk about this, it's like, what is our purpose? What is our mission? But the moment you realize that, it changes your life completely. And you know what's really cool? It opens doors. It opens doors, because then all of a sudden the universe has us aligned exactly where we need to be, and the doors just start to open. So Mark, tell us a little bit about what we're talking about. How is this inspiring you?
Well, look, I think we just heard a sound bite from Robert Renteria, a guy who has spoken in front of many people, many people, and he is a master of his craft, as you can tell, how he composes his sentences, and he's told his story a few times, you can tell, because of how sharp and how chronological it was. I had so many questions to ask you, but I didn't want to stop the flow of thought, because I just wanted to hear your whole story, so I appreciate that. But I guess one area we can start diving into is the business. So you've had success in business. You said you guys were successful within 3 years. Is that what I heard? So can you give a couple of keys that helped you guys to be successful? And maybe tell me a little bit about your journey in that business.
Well, it goes back to the beginning, right? I started off as a sales guy, and I spent a lot of time getting to know my customers. And I think the secret between me and everybody else is I was willing to outwork everybody. People didn't want to work weekends. They didn't want to work nights. I would take people's duty on Saturdays when they had rotations. And so I would charge them to come in on a Saturday, but I got a chance to meet all the customers coming through. And this went on for a couple of years. So I became very popular very fast, because I was treating them more like family. And that was the secret to the recipe, right? I respected my customers more than a customer. It was more than just money to me. I genuinely cared about them, their families, their wants, needs, and desires, and I was there for them. When there was birthday parties and I would get invited, I would go. If there was a wedding, I would go. If somebody died in that family, I would go. And most people were saying, "Why are you doing that? That's not your family." But they didn't understand the connect. So when I left there and I went to corporate America, it was a rude awakening, because in corporate it's about making the numbers, and so you're a slave to the manufacturer, because you have quotas, and then you have the board of directors, and it's always about driving the numbers, the gross profit, net profit. And so I got disenchanted, and I started my own business. And I think that after 3 years, as I mentioned, it was about that time where my company was the #1 distribution company in the United States, because I built it on the principle of familia. And that's the secret. You treat your customers like family. They're not going to go anywhere else. They're not going to shop you, because you become a valuable asset to them, and that's something you can't buy with money.
No. Being a good person always pays off in the end. Being a good person, having good character, as you said, good principle is really big, and respecting others, and really wanting the best for others is a really big place to dive in if you're trying to be a better person. So, yeah, I totally agree. Mom, you want to add on?
Well, I love when Robert mentioned the word doing the right thing when nobody's watching, which is called integrity earlier. That is the key, and that's one thing I really respect about Robert. I always, everything he does, he follows through it. He does it. He's a man of his word. But then I also see him doing great things, when nobody's watching. So that's something to keep in mind when you start following the right path and doing the right things. Like I said earlier, doors will open, but also you will also start enjoying life more because you have a purpose. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. I have a journal here that I've been writing on that says just keep writing. And Robert and I have that in common. We just keep writing. We keep writing, not just writing books, but writing plans, creating a business plan, creating our goals. He just shared with me something really amazing. He said, hey, guess what? I've been talking to somebody that's connected with games, and it's a different world, but he never stops to amaze me. He's always going to the next level. He went from the regular, publishing a book to then writing his comic book to inspire the little ones, and then connecting with some really big names to get that book out there to the right kids, to the right groups who need to hear his story and get inspired, because in life there's no excuses. If you don't have what you need, go out there, research. He happened to join the army?
Yes.
The army, that changed his life. I hear that all the time. Of course, the government has those programs that where we help our country, but our country can also help us as long as we're doing the right thing and stay connected to the right to the right goals and the purpose that we have in life. I think things just will work out beautifully. Sometimes people join the army, they come home with money, but they waste it. They might spend it on cars and homes, and later they go broke, they get everything repoed, they lost it. So I love the fact that Robert came back and invested his money on something good, something great, his own business. So he went from the barrio to the board. So that's so cool. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So another question I have here is, I want to be a children's book author very soon. I'm in the process of creating one. My mom's already created hers. Right next to her there, she's got my own little brother. So yeah, we want to hear a couple of your success principles for the youngsters coming up, trying to follow your footsteps, my mom's footsteps. Can you give them a little piece, please?
Well, I think that, my abuelito, my grandpa taught me years ago, you show me your friends, I tell you who you are. So you can't be hanging around with the wrong people. And as you get older, if you're the smartest person in the group, take my advice, you better get a new group. So, I think that as Latinos, one of the things that I've learned I teach the kids is you ask for help. Not because you're weak, because you have to remain strong. There's a difference between a handout and a hand up. And pride is a good thing. And we have a lot of pride as Latinos, right? It makes us strong, it moves us along, but it also gets in the way. So, you have a lot to offer, and you're trying to bring a story to the world. Fortunately, your mom, she's written books, and I've written books, and there's others, but ask for help. So you don't have to make all the mistakes that we made. Because it wasn't easy. In the beginning, I made a lot of mistakes and spent a lot of money I probably didn't have to spend. But looking back 14 years and scaling is what we're working on now to create a global platform. So we get have a footprint on the hearts of kids worldwide. Is that my world changed when I started asking for help.
What kind of people are you asking for help? Are you talking about illustrators and publishers? So can you give me a little bit more practical list?
Yeah, so the books have been out for 14 years. I have a curriculum that was developed that addresses social emotional learning, helping kids with their critical thinking skills, primarily used in middle schools and high schools, but not limited to that. But that's where my passion is. We're in prisons and youth detention centers and shelters and social services. But I'm asking for help from, like, an example of the gaming world. The gaming world, esports, has a 1.2 million user population worldwide. So that's scaling, right? if you look at RX Water, if you go online and find RX Water, you'll see me on there as an ambassador. So RX Water, you wonder, well, how did you get RX Water sponsor? Well, they're the official water for the World Boxing Council, WBC, which I'm an ambassador for the WBC. So the WBC made me an ambassador 4 years ago, and they mentor boys and girls ages 8 to 18 in 165 countries around the world. So that's a partner of mine. Then we partnered during the pandemic with the Rugby Foundation. So the Rugby wanted to reach inner city kids in South America. So of course they called and they reached out to BARRIO. And then you get corporations looking for an ROI, right? Return on investment. So Papa John's in Illinois, corporate, is a sponsor of ours. So if you go to buy a pizza in Illinois and you put in the code BARRIO10, BARRIO10, you get 40% off. Well, 40% off is a lot of money, especially if you have a big family or having parties. Then they give 10% back to the BARRIO Foundation. So I mean, rather it be working with the energy world, like right now, so if you look at United American Marketing, they're the #1 brokerage company for energy in the United States. They reached out, and now I'm partnering with UAM, United Marketing, United American Marketing, because they have access to all the big energy groups like Exelon and Constellation and Sunbelt. Well, we're going to get them to help sponsor books for kids across the country. And it's going to make them look good because they're helping kids. So you create this triangle, it's a trifecta. The energy company wins, the company that I'm tied to wins, and the kids win. So, you got to create winning scenarios so that it's not just you're asking for somebody to give you something. So you have to bring your value to the table. So BARRIO becomes this moving billboard. It becomes an ROI for them, right? All the heavy lifting has been done. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Marilena, but over the last 14 years, I've invested well over $350,000 to build my program worldwide. But that was an investment I was willing to make in the future of our kids, right? Because at one point, whenever this happens, whether it be one day from now or 30 years from now, I'm not going to be here. So I wanted to make sure that I built what I'm doing is now a legacy piece. So, the books aren't just books with pictures and words. These books that I've written, they're a burning message of hope and dreams that for generations to come and for decades to follow to the end of time, kids are going to be reading my books. And for me, that's what drives me.
That's right. And it's leave a legacy behind. A lot of people write because, it's good to get your thoughts on paper. It releases stress. Some people write it just because they want to just put their ideas on paper, but there's some people that take it to a next level. They want to impact with their writing. They want to make changes with their writing and their thoughts. And you're doing that, Robert. You're not just telling a story. You're also doing something about the whole product of what can I do to help these kids. And your goal has always been to put those books in the kids' hands, but not just to have your book there, but more to make them think and plan a better future. So I love that. I really love that.
Right. Well, that's why we developed the curriculum so we can get this helping kids in schools across America and around the world. That's why we have a faith-inspired curriculum. So we work with the ministries around the world. 4 years ago, we had a play. I was working with a choreographer from Gloria Stefan, and they took 30 inner city kids and created a play called the BARRIO Project. It was funded by After School Matters. And after the play was released a year later, it took them a year to process the play. It was shown in sold out crowds all over Chicago. You couldn't get in the place. But we impacted the lives of inner city kids who told me at the end of the year that their boardroom is now the theater. Looking forward, now we're under contract for a movie and a documentary. We're talking to Disney about a cartoon because you have to reach kids in different places. In the gaming world, I'm going to reach kids outside the classroom. So kids are gamers. So that was another idea that said, if we can get to the gaming world, we can reach kids worldwide. So,
yes.
So for me, it's about scaling now. I want to scale this thing. I want to make it a mandatory read for every kid in America and not limit it to kids, like I said before. I want to find other areas like the transitioning veterans or with the recidivism with the prisons. So that, the high recidivism issues, like up to 80% in some states. So I want to get the inmates inspired to get out and stay out. So it's, you and I are very passionate about kids, but I'm moving in other directions where I want to help fix problems, and not just talk about statistics. Because the way it works right now in the U.S., everybody's talking about intervention. Well, if somebody takes drugs, it's already too late, or maybe too late if they join a gang, right? But if we focus on prevention so these things don't happen, now we've left a big mark big footprint in the world.
Yeah.
My son is writing a book about Hey Gamer, There's More. That's one of his books. And he was telling me, hey, Mom, we need to reach out these kids who are sitting there for hours and hours and hours playing games. So I said, hey, write a book. So he got together with another friend, and they've been working together in a collaboration. But I love it. I love it because that's an audience that a lot of parents, or I say it because it was hard when Mark was a gamer to get him off the games. He was stuck. I had to make it a point to, hey, Mark, we're going camping. Hey, Mark, we're going to go play basketball. I had to learn to play basketball with him to get him to play basketball. Because I grew up as a single mom. So any male sports, I had to learn to play with him because I was like, I can't wait for a guy to come and teach him. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to help him. I'm going to teach him. So that's me getting putting hands on solving the problem. You know, we can't sit around and wait for somebody else to come and rescue us. We can't wait for somebody to write the right book. That's how The Annoying Little Brother was born. I didn't see the right book, so I wrote it. You know, so we gotta be proactive. We have to think and find these solutions to the world. And I love that Mark is joining me on this task. I feel like in some ways I inspired him, but mainly he is inspiring himself because he's taking the initiative. Like I said earlier, Robert, if the kids have good dads, but sometimes kids turn out to be bad even with good dads. Or if they have bad dads and parents, they might end up being great kids. You know, so at the end of the day, it's really, really the responsibility of that teenager, because that's when we start making choices on our own, when we become teenagers and when we turn and become adults. At the end of the day, that's who's really making the decision. You are. You shouldn't be so influenced by your surroundings or who you're hanging out with. But unfortunately, I like to do that. I love what you also said about choosing your friends wisely. That is the key. The key for me, it's been like probably what has really inspired me throughout my life, the type of friends that I surrounded myself with. And when I saw it wasn't healthy or it was toxic, guess what? I ended those. And when I stopped learning from my friends, I would join a different group of friends. So I love what you said because it's so powerful, Robert. And I always tell my
yeah, look, here's the science behind it. So we're all humans, right? And we're all trying to reach this level of homeostasis where our body is at a neutral or more of a positive, almost a positive position. A body. How do you say that? Anyways, your body reaches homeostasis whenever you have friends. Friends are a need. Family's a need. Food is a need. Clothes, shelter. Those are all needs, right? So if you're surrounding yourself with people who are not being very productive, then odds are you're not going to be productive as well, because you want to be you're going to end up trying to reach homeostasis in your friendship by doing the same things, right? If your friends are going bowling, you're going to go bowling with them. If your friends are playing games, you're going to be playing the video games as well. If you're in school and majority of your friends are your classmates, then you're going to be going to school more often. You're going to be doing homework with your friends, this and that. So if you surround yourself with people who are authors, or not even authors, you know, if you're an author and you surround your friends with, if you surround yourself with friends that are other successful avenues, such as you surround yourself with an illustrator and a publisher and all these other things. So yeah, I agree, Mom. I love it. I think sometimes in life we must change who we hang out with, and that's really the hardest part. You know, whenever maybe Robert, you can share a story, maybe a childhood story of whenever you had to switch up your friend group, because that can be a very big struggle for people.
Well, I think there's a mix, right? You have some friends that you go to church with, some friends you might, go bowling with, friends you might work out with, and then you have other friends, your business friends. So I'm not saying to X out everybody because you're better than anybody else, right? But I'm just saying it doesn't have to be all inclusive in every group. So yeah, I have different groups. I have people that I have spiritual friends. I have friends we talk business. I have friends that, volunteer at the shelter. So there's different groups, right? But you need to make sure that as you're nurturing your own growth, hang out with people who are more successful than you are. I mean, I'm working with a guy from Saudi Arabia. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire, over $1 billion company, and his family and other businesses he surrounds himself are billionaires, right? So why are they working with me? Well, they want access to the community, right? I have the gateway to specifically the Hispanic community. So they're looking for an ROI, right? They're looking for business. So now they give to Barrio, it makes them look good, and they want to help, right? And I open doors to the various communities who give them their business. So again, it's a triangle, trifecta. If everybody wins, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. So let's keep it going here. I got another great question for Dr. Robert Renteria. So tell us, are you recently a doctor? Because I saw on your website that only 2020 had Dr. Renteria. The other ones had Mr. So is there a little story behind that?
Yeah. There's a story there.
Tell us the story.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I got these emails in Spanish, and I didn't even read them. I thought it was spam. So one night, after about 5 emails, I'm sitting at home. It's like 9 o'clock at night, and I see 01152 come across my phone, and I know that's Mexico. So I pick up the phone. I thought it was spam again, and they're saying, "Oh, we've been trying to reach you. My name is whatever her name was at the time, and we're calling from Mexico City University, Mexico City, or UNAM." And they said, "You've been selected, or nominated, I should say, to receive an international honorary doctorate for humanities and academics. And we've been following you for almost 6 years, and we need you to send us some information." They wanted to see the curriculum. They wanted to see other stuff that they wanted to see, I think it was my TED Talk and some other stuff I sent them in videos. And about a month later, I get another email back saying that I was nominated and I was selected, and I was going to be the recipient of a doctorate in Sacramento, California. So I flew to Sacramento. They came in from Mexico City. It's the first time they honored somebody in the States, because it's always in Mexico. So I received my honorary doctorate.
How are we doing? We still there?
No, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Keep it going.
So I received my honorary doctorate in, I believe it was April 2019. So
Congratulations. That's beautiful. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So what happened there is, I believe that once I received my doctorate, my stock value went up, because now it's credible. It's not some guy from the barrio, right? It's not some guy who came from the hood and made good in business. This is a guy who's doing philanthropic work worldwide. So that award, and among some other awards, and I'll send you my profile so you can see some of the awards that have happened, the accolades over the last 14 years, it opened all kinds of doors for Barrio. So I think that was the turning point of where this is now going into, I call it scaling, working with organizations across the country and around the world.
Mm-hmm. I love this because I met you 10 years ago. I saw you, I have seen the transformation, almost like, like a butterfly that has to be in a little cocoon and all those changes that we must go through, and then now you're opening your wings and flying like a beautiful butterfly. I love it. Story. That's why we stay friends over the years. Sometimes we haven't seen each other for 5 years in person, but the years we've been in contact. At least a hello on a text, because that's another thing I want to encourage people to do. Stay in touch with people that you love and admire, because even if you don't get to see them in person, that contact, that text or that phone call will keep you connected over the years. And that's exactly what has happened to Robert and I. We don't see each other anymore for the last 5 years, but we've been in touch, and I've been seeing these changes and these transformations and all of this beautiful, how you're growing, Robert, Dr. Robert Renteria. And I just love it. I'm so thankful and grateful to the universe that we met 10 years ago at the Latino Family and Book Festival. And you inspire me as well. It's harder for some of us who have kids, because most of my money goes into college right now. But you know what? I promise you, and I've told you this, I can't wait for my kids to graduate and then be up flying like a beautiful butterfly as well. So then I can then take another step into the next level where I want to be. But I just want to tell you, I applaud you. Keep going, and continue to shine your light, because you're an inspiration to many of us.
Well, thank you. I want to share a story with your son.
Please.
When I made it to corporate America the first year, right? The first year I went to corporate, I had sold like 1.2 million with a margin of about 38%. And the rest of the company, the other 20-some sales guys, sold maybe 500,000 at 24% margin. So I doubled the sales. My margins were far greater than theirs were. So two things happened. That year, I got a $42,000 Christmas bonus, and I got asked if I can grow the division and have all these other guys teach them what I knew. Right now, I had no education at the time. I had a GED. Now I'm running a multi-million-dollar company. So that year, when I got my Christmas bonus, I flew home. I took my mother to lunch, and I gave her a gift bag. And she says, "What is this?" I said, "What do you think it is?" She goes, "It's a necklace," because the year before I had given her a bracelet. I said, "No, Mama, it's not jewelry because women love jewelry." So she reaches in the bag and she pulls out a key, and she looks at me. She says, "Nico, what is this?" And I said, "Mama," and I started crying. And I said, "Mama, this means you'll never have to take the bus again." That was
Oh,
the greatest day in the history of my life, that I was able to prove to my mother her son was not a loser. Her son was a winner, and I bought her a car.
that's so
So,
beautiful. For you.
so
Mark,
when you say that you're investing in your sons and your daughter's education, when you finally get there, come back and buy your mother a car.
oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. And I am who I am also because I want to say thank you to my grandparents who raised me well, who always gave me everything I needed as a child to be a happy child. I grew up in a farm, running in the fields del rancho de Papamilio and Mama Coco. So I came from the campo. You came from the barrio, I came from el campo. I think I shared that with you one day. I said, I think I wish to be from el campo to community leader or something. But I'm telling you this because I also want to say thank you to my family who raised me and who had a big important and a huge impact in my life. And I've unfortunately they're gone, they passed, but I always bring them up because I'm so grateful that they were part of my life. But I wish I could have bought my grandma a car, or something to tell her thank you. Uh, but I always cut the flowers, and I remember because I love flowers, I would take her flowers. And that's one of the things and the reasons I love flowers because of her, because she always cut flowers for me and I cut flowers for her. So thank you, Robert, for sharing that little story about your mom. And she's still
Yeah.
alive, right? Because
Oh yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah. She's still spoiled. She's my girl. We talk every day. My sisters call me a mama's boy, but I don't care. I love my mom. She's my girl.
that's,
She's 80 years old. She tells everybody she's 59, but she's really 80. And she's still full of spunk. She's still spunky. So I pray that we still have many more years together.
pues
Keep
le
her healthy.
mandamos un beso a tu mami. ¿Cómo se llama?
Yeah. My mother's called Martha.
Marta, un besote. Thank you for raising such a great boy that grew up to be a great man, and now Dr. Renteria. You must be proud.
Until I get a nice doctorate degree, one day hopefully I can live up to that as well over the years. Still working on my bachelor's, but here we go. So another question I had to ask you before we end this interview in a couple minutes here. Is the comic book hero from your book, Little Barrio, is that you? Because he's got cool hair and you've got cool hair. I was just wondering, is that...
Well, the picture on the Little Barrio book, it represents me. And the little boy on the book represents the son I never had. So that's why I call the book Little Barrio.
Okay,
So,
okay. I must be mistaking the characters. I saw a character on your website, and it looked
like a superhero.
Yeah, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. That's I'm planning on a book called El Barrio, and El Barrio would be a superhero.
Yeah, I could tell. I like that character a lot. That really inspired me because, like I said, I'm doing my own book here. Here's a little sketch, just a little sneak peek. I'm not going to show y'all any too much details here, but that's a sneak peek of a sketch I made. But anyways, so that I'm like, wow, I want to do some characters of that magnitude, of that big details. It looked great. So I just had to compliment that, and thanks for the inspiration.
Yeah, and this is something, Mark, you will get there. I'm very proud of you because he's actually taking drawing classes on Mondays at the University of Houston. So I applaud you for that, Mark. Keep following your goals, your dreams, but polish yourself. And like, I love that you took the initiative to take the art class or the drawing class, and now you're illustrating your own book. That is awesome. I love that. And hopefully now you will be inspired with Dr. Robert Renteria and go to the next level and go all the way. You have all the tools. You have the support of your mother and the support of some of your friends, and you've been inspired all these years I always immerse you into the conferences and going to different school settings. Now you're joining me as well at the school, so I love that. Robert mentions he doesn't have any sons, but you have many kids who you're inspiring out there, Robert. So no, you don't have a son by birth, but you have sons and daughters who you are inspiring in the Latino community and outside of the Latino community. So again, we all have different purposes in life. We all have different reasons why God put us on this earth. So yours is a very special one. So never give up. Keep shining your light. And again, thank you for being part of this podcast. Is there any last words you want to add before we say goodbye?
Well, before we say our last words, we got to go on a short break, and we'll be right back.
All right. Well, like I said, Robert, thank you so much. Or Dr. Renteria, thank you for joining us today. What are your last words for today that you would like our listeners to take with?
Well, I want people not to be afraid, right? So it's okay to take a blind leap of faith to serve a higher purpose. So live your purpose, live your dreams, and you can be anybody you want to be. And hopefully I'll see you again in the future. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. It's an honor to know you. And yes, you will see me because I'll be going to Chicago really soon. And I hope you get to come to Texas as well and join us at our Shine Conference that we're going to be having this year as well. So you will definitely continue to be part of our lives. I love you, my friend. Again, thank you for your time. And remember, folks, never give up. Let that shine within you shine bright, and it will lead you the way. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Be blessed.
Gracias. Love you too.
Adios, everybody. Take care. Appreciate the wise words, brother. Adios.